I still remember the sound. It was sharp, loud, and sudden, almost like two pieces of wood hitting each other. Except this time, it was Brandon's hand against my face. I had only come to visit Clara, my daughter. She told me they were having a small family lunch, and she wanted me to come early so we could talk. I was even smiling when I entered the house. I never imagined trouble was waiting for me at the door. Brandon stood in the living room with his arms crossed. He didn't greet me. He didn't nod. He just stared at me like someone who was ready for a fight. Clara tried to speak, but he raised his hand for her to stay quiet. I asked a simple question. Brandon, did I do something wrong? That was all. But Brandon stepped forward and shouted that I should learn respect in his house. I didn't even understand what he meant. Before I could ask again, his hand came flying. I didn't move fast enough. The slap hit my cheek so hard that my glasses almost fell. Clara screamed his name. Brandon didn't even look sorry. He looked proud, as if he had just won something. My ears rang for a moment. My skin burned. The room felt smaller. Everything inside me wanted to react the way any man would shout, push back, defend myself. But something inside me said no. I stayed still. I didn't say a word. I kept my hands at my sides. Brandon waited for me to shout. He waited for me to fight back. He wanted it. I could see it in his eyes. When he didn't get what he expected, confusion passed across his face. Clara held my arm. Dad, I'm so sorry, she whispered. Her voice was shaking, but I noticed something else, fear. A deep fear she wasn't telling me about. Brandon walked away like nothing had happened. He even hummed a song as he went upstairs. That alone told me something bigger was happening in this house. I touched my cheek slowly. It was warm and slightly swollen, but the pain didn't bother me as much as the silence in the room. It felt heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding secrets. Clara tried to explain, but her voice kept breaking. Dad, he just gets angry sometimes. It's not what you think. But I had seen enough in my life to know when a person was hiding more than they were saying. I didn't shout. I didn't force her to talk. I simply nodded and walked out of the house. Not because I was weak, not because I was afraid. I left quietly because sometimes silence is the only way to hear the truth behind people's actions. As I stepped outside, my mind was not on the slap anymore. It was on Brandon's face, the pride, the confidence, the way he believed he had won. And right there, I knew something important. A man who feels too safe is a man who is not watching his own downfall. I walked home slowly, touched my cheek again, and whispered to myself, this is not finished. When I woke up the next morning, my left cheek still felt hot. I looked in the mirror and saw a faint red mark there. For a moment, I thought about yesterday again, and something inside me tightened, but I didn't allow anger to settle. I wanted to understand more before making any move. I walked back to Clara's house, trying to pretend like everything was normal. A part of me hoped she would talk, maybe tell me something real this time. But when she opened the door, her eyes moved too fast, and her hands shook a bit. Dad, why did you come so early? She asked. She tried to smile, but the smile didn't fit her face well. It looked forced, like someone holding a heavy weight inside. I just wanted to check on you, I said. She stepped aside to let me in, but she kept looking over her shoulder as if someone was watching us. I noticed a small bruise on her wrist. She covered it quickly, but not fast enough for me to miss it. Before I could ask her anything, someone called my name softly. Mr. Andrew, come here, please. It was Mrs. Coleman from next door. She stood outside her gate, holding a basket of clothes, as if she had just finished laundry. But her eyes told me She wasn't thinking about clothes. Clara looked scared when she heard the neighbor calling me. She whispered, "Dad, please don't," but her voice cut off because Brandon's voice echoed from inside the house. "What's taking so long?" he shouted. Clara froze. I stepped back out of the house and walked toward Mrs. Coleman. She leaned close, lowering her voice like someone afraid of shadows. "Sir, what happened yesterday wasn't the first time," she said. My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" She looked around, checking if someone was listening, and then spoke fast, almost too fast. "I've been seeing things, hearing things. That man, Brandon, he's not how he looks outside. He shouts at her late in the night. He throws things. He lost his job months ago, but still forces her to pretend he's working. I don't want to talk too much, but your daughter, she is not safe." I felt my fingers curl slightly. A small wind blew dust around us, and somehow everything felt darker. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. She shook her head. "Long enough. And yesterday, when he slapped you, I saw it from my window. The way he looked after hitting you, like he was proud, sir. That man believes nobody can stop him." I looked back at the house. The curtains on the living room window moved slightly. I wasn't sure if it was the breeze or someone watching. Mrs. Coleman placed her hand on my arm. "Sir, be careful. He is hiding many things, more than you think." Her voice broke a little. I thanked her and walked away, slowly. My steps felt heavier. My mind was spinning. Something had shifted inside me. I wasn't angry, but my silence was no longer simple silence. It was changing, growing into something else. When I reached the gate, I looked back once more at the house where my daughter lived. The place felt too quiet, too controlled. I whispered to myself, not loud, but firm. "Now I understand." I spent the whole night thinking. I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Clara's shaky smile, the bruise on her wrist, and Brandon's proud face after he hit me. The house that once felt warm now felt like a cage, and my daughter was the one locked inside. I sat at my dining table very early that morning, the sky still dark, a pen in my hand. I wasn't writing a letter. I was writing the truth, every piece of it that I had discovered. And beside the paper, I kept an empty brown envelope staring at me, like it was waiting for its own job. I didn't write loudly or angrily. I wrote slowly, piece by piece, making sure everything was clear. I added notes I had gathered quietly over the past months, small things I didn't pay attention to before. Strange phone calls, unexplained stories, Clara's sudden changes in behavior. And now, with Mrs. Coleman's words, the puzzle finally made sense. When I finished, I placed the papers inside the envelope and sealed it tight. It felt heavier than before, almost like it carried its own heartbeat. I left the house at sunrise and walked to Clara's home again. I didn't knock. I just stood outside their gate, watching the curtain move slightly when someone peeked through. I kept the envelope in my coat pocket. Clara opened the door. She looked tired, her eyes red like she hadn't slept either. "Dad," she whispered, "you came again?" "Yes," I said. "I need to speak with both of you today." Her face changed quickly, almost like fear was trying to escape her eyes, but she held it in. She tried to stop me, touching my arm softly. "Dad, please, don't talk to him today. He is in one of his moods." I didn't answer. Brandon walked into the hallway at that exact moment. He stretched his arms, like someone waking from a peaceful sleep. When he saw me, he smirked. "Well, well, look who came back. You came to apologize, right?" he said, tapping his cheek like he wanted me to kiss his hand. Clara looked down immediately. I didn't speak. I just reached into my coat and touched the envelope but didn't bring it out yet. Brandon rubbed his hands together. You know, Andrew, you're learning. Yesterday was a good start. A man must know who is in charge. I watched him closely, not blinking. He didn't notice how silent I had become. My silence made him feel powerful, and powerful men are always blind. He walked past me and sat on the couch, stretching his legs proudly. So, what did you bring today? Money? Advice? He laughed loudly. Your advice is old. I only need money. I felt something sharp move inside me, but my voice stayed calm. I didn't bring advice, I said, and what I brought is not money. He raised his eyebrows. Then what is it? I touched the envelope again, not to show him, just to feel it. That small touch reminded me why I was there. It's something you should see, I replied. His smile grew even wider, the kind of smile a man wears when he is too sure of himself. Clara stepped back slowly, watching both of us like someone watching fire grow near dry wood. I looked at Brandon again, and in that moment, I realized something. He truly had no idea what was coming. Brandon stood in the living room with his arms wide, like he was welcoming a gift meant for a king. Clara stayed near the wall, her hands held tight together. I didn't waste time. I reached into my coat and brought out the envelope. His eyes locked onto it immediately. There it is, he said, snapping his fingers. I knew it. Finally, you understand who you're dealing with. He walked closer and stretched out his hand, but I didn't give it to him yet. I watched his face, the confidence, the pride, the arrogance, and something inside me felt calmer than ever. This wasn't anger. It was clarity. Brandon, I said softly, open it when you sit down. He chuckled. Please, I can open it right here. No, I replied. Sit. My voice wasn't loud, but it held something different, something he wasn't used to hearing from me. For a second, he hesitated, confused at the firmness. Then he shrugged and sat on the couch, crossing his legs like someone ready to count money. I handed him the envelope. He shook it lightly, as if measuring the weight. Then he smiled again. This feels like a lot. Good. You should have done this long ago. Maybe you're finally ready to respect me. Clara looked away quickly, tears forming in her eyes. Brandon tore open the envelope with one quick pull, expecting cash to fall out. But when he reached inside, his fingers didn't touch money. They touched paper, several papers. He frowned. What's this? He pulled out the documents one by one. His eyes scanned the first page, and something shifted in his face. His smile froze. His jaw tightened. He blinked more times than usual. He moved to the second page, then the third, then the fourth. His breathing changed. His back straightened. The confidence started melting off him slowly like ice under the sun. What is this? He said, his voice suddenly lower. The papers contained everything he didn't want anyone to know: his unpaid debts, the loans he had taken under another name, the night he was arrested years ago and released quietly, the messages he sent to another woman, his fake job records, things he thought nobody knew. Clara looked at me, confused. Dad? When? How did you? I didn't speak yet. I kept watching Brandon. His hands trembled as he flipped the pages too quickly, almost tearing one. How did you get this? He whispered, his voice thin now. I stayed calm. You forget people watch you when you think nobody cares. He dropped one paper by mistake, and when he bent to pick it, he saw the small photo attached at the bottom, proof of one of his secret meetings. His whole body jerked slightly, like someone touched a live wire. He pressed his hand against his forehead. No, 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 no. You can't have this. You can't. He stood up too fast, knocking the coffee table. The papers scattered all over the floor like broken feathers. Clara covered her mouth in shock. Brandon bent down to gather them, but his hands were shaking so much he couldn't hold anything properly. He looked at me, really looked, and for the first time, he wasn't the proud man who slapped me. He was frightened, terrified. "Andrew," he whispered, "you don't understand. This can destroy me." I nodded slowly. "Yes, I know." His lips trembled. Sweat formed on his forehead. His chest moved up and down too quickly. The room felt heavy, as if the walls were leaning in toward him. Brandon swallowed hard, and the truth finally settled in his eyes. He had lost control. Brandon's hands shook so hard that the papers slipped from his fingers again. He tried to pick them up, but his knees were weak, and every movement looked clumsy. The proud man who slapped me yesterday had disappeared. What stood before me now was a man drowning in his own fear. Clara slowly stepped forward. "Brandon, what is all this?" Her voice wasn't angry. It was tired, exhausted, like someone who had carried too many secrets for too long. Brandon didn't answer. He just stared at the papers scattered around him. His lips moved, but no sound came out. I bent down gently and picked up one of the documents he dropped. It was the record of the loan he took using someone else's identity. The stamp at the bottom was clear, the dates bold. A mistake he thought no one would ever discover. "Brandon," I said quietly, "you forgot something important. People always see more than you think." He rubbed his forehead with both hands, breathing fast. "Andrew, listen, please, I can explain. I didn't mean for all this to come out like this." I looked at him calmly. "You should explain it to your wife." Clara's eyes filled with tears. She held one of the papers with trembling fingers. "You lied about your job. You lied about the nights you said you were working late. Brandon, what is all this? Why?" He didn't answer. He just kept shaking his head like he was trying to wake up from a nightmare. Then suddenly, he stood up and grabbed my arm. "You can't show this to anyone. Do you hear me? This is my life. You will ruin everything." He didn't hurt me, he was too weak now, but Clara rushed forward. "Don't touch my dad." The words surprised even her. Her voice wasn't the scared whisper I heard yesterday. It carried strength, a strength she had been hiding. Brandon stepped back as if her voice pushed him. I looked at him once more. "You hit me because you thought I was weak. You shouted at my daughter because you thought she had no one. You believed you were safe behind lies." His breathing grew louder. "Andrew, please, take it back. Take all this away." I didn't move. His eyes suddenly rolled upward. His knees bent like they couldn't hold him anymore. His fingers opened slowly, and the last paper slipped from his hand. Before Clara could reach him, Brandon collapsed on the floor. He fainted. Clara screamed his name, kneeling beside him. I knelt too, checking his pulse. He was breathing, but his body shook lightly from shock. A few minutes later, neighbors rushed in. Mrs. Coleman was the first. "What happened?" I heard Clara shouting. Clara held one of the documents with shaking hands. "Mrs. Coleman, everything you said, it's true, all of it." I showed her the envelope. She gasped softly, covering her mouth. By the time Brandon opened his eyes again, his parents had arrived too. I handed them the documents one by one. They didn't argue. They didn't defend him. They only stared at their son with disappointment deeper than anger. Brandon didn't speak. He didn't shout. He didn't lift his head. The proud man was gone. Clara rested her head on my shoulder and whispered, "Dad, thank you. You saved me." I didn't feel pride. I didn't feel victory. I only felt peace. Silence can hide pain, but silence can also uncover the truth. And this time, truth won. And just like that, the entire room fell silent. My daughter stared at me, as if she was seeing me for the first time, shocked that every trap they set had snapped back on them. My son-in-law couldn't speak, and Margaret's face drained of colour when she realized the truth I exposed was undeniable. I looked at them calmly. "You tried to break me," I said, "but you forgot who taught you strength." I turned and walked away, leaving their schemes in ruins behind me. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more interesting revenge stories.